Welcome to the Erico Academy. Today we'll be going over the Trackabout customer dashboard navigation. And this is a very powerful tool that exists in Trackabout and one that I highly recommend each of you use and understand. And I'll point out some specific examples on how we can better serve our customers and provide information that's at our fingertips and become more efficient in the process. So let's go ahead and start with our training account. And this is the same screen that you will see if you click on the Trackabout link that exists in the order entry menu or screen in P21. It'll take you to the screen as well. So once again, customer, servicing location, nothing important there, I guess you would say. That's what you should see. But you see last delivery. Customer calls in and says, hey, when was my last delivery? You could come right here. If a customer is calling that day looking for their delivery, hey, we haven't gotten our delivery yet. Sometimes it's already there, and the yard guy or the warehouse guy or whoever hasn't told somebody else. And it's really nice to be able to say, hey, we've already been there. So let's click on this. And I want to show you another important tool. And if you remember from a previous module, Bob signed for it. It's CR Bob. Because sometimes they ask, hey, who signed for it? That's why we want the customer's name or whoever signed for it. So they can go ask Bob or Mark or John or Cindy, hey, where did they put the cylinders? They can go ask them. If you also see here, like I said, there's what did we deliver? 1 and 1. Also have the hard goods, and you have to be careful of this because there's no guarantee because we're not validating it. But really just focus on the cylinders for now. But you see this guy right here. So I'll just back up, and that's where I live if everybody wants to know. But it gives information that, hey, we dropped it off at the northeast corner of First and Main. That's where the cylinders are. Oh, you're supposed to put it on the southwest quarter. Oh, sorry, our mistake. But at least the customer knows that we might have made a mistake, but we know exactly where we dropped those cylinders. And that's basically, it's based upon where the cylinders get scanned by the phone. It gets pinged to the tower. And usually that's accurate within 3 to 10 meters. So highly accurate. And that's information we could tell our customer, and we could tell it on the fly. We don't have to go talk to the branch manager. We don't have to call the driver. Hey, did you make this delivery? It's right here. It's at our fingertips. So let's go back. This screen also tells you, hey, last audit. When was it? There it is, 125. Now the screen doesn't show you anything in process. It shows you what's already been completed, hence completed. But you can tell the customer, hey, we were there 125. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. 1 and 1. Nothing, no surprise finds. Everything was great. Excellent. Last rental bill, there's not one been generated because we just shipped cylinders this month, but we're going to look at another account for that later in this presentation. If there's a rental purchase order, there's nothing here, but if you want to add one, you click on the pencil. Here you go. Let's add one right now. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. And that's going to show up on the rental bills now. Fairly straightforward. Now, unfortunately, there's no time frame that you can apply to it or dollar amount. It's a very static value, but it's someplace that will show up on all the rental bills. On the POs, it will show up every month. Rental rate brackets is something we don't use. We tend to use customer-specific rates, and this will tell you if it's one for this customer or not, and it says yes. So let's click on that. And there's 68 rental classes, so it's like, well, which one did we change? Did we make sure we added it for the acetylene? A real easy way to see what prices were set for those customers, come up here. And we're almost always is rates is where we impact. And you can see on the 25th, I created for this industrial large and acetylene large, no rent. And once again, we don't want to use no rent, but as it's a training account, we don't want to generate rent. But here it is. There's your audit trail that shows what we did to make sure we did it right and just to double check our work as well. So flat fees, this would be if somebody had, doesn't matter if you have 10 cylinders or 50 cylinders, it's going to be, say, $60. Asset agreements. Asset agreements are basically a lease. And as of right now, as of February 1st, leases can be generated out of P21, but as of today, there's still, that linkage has not been created, so we still have to do it manually. Very easy process though. If you come here, we add a new agreement, lease, deposit, no charge, temporary no charge, lease. And what you would do is here, start date, duration, payments, there's that leave that field alone. And then you want to add row. And you want to add it by rental class or type, so we'll just do by class. And rental class, let's say, let's go back. Let's do it by asset type. That's industrial, and we'll do acetylene. And we'll come down here and we'll do quantity 1. And the unit cost, and unit cost is not the cost of cylinders, the cost of the lease, and we'll say $70. And there you have a lease for $70. And you go ahead and save it. And now there's a lease on the account. And there are reports that you can run out of Trackabout that will tell you that leases are coming up. But once again, this will be done out of P21 once the linkages are created. But in the meantime, you can come in here and create that lease, no problem. So customer info tab. There's really not much out of here. If you remember from a previous module, all this information is driven out of P21. So if I come here and edit, you do not see an address or anything to that effect because that has been hidden because that's driven out of P21. And this information here is really, there's no need to touch it. If you touch the payment terms, it's not going to do anything because that's driven out of P21. Here, it's a default of $5. So if the rental bill is not at least $5, it won't generate. You can change that here if you so choose, but this is a default for everybody. And once again, won't do anything for you because we don't use Trackabout to generate the rent. We just generate the data. So there's no need for any of this, to touch at least. So we'll go back. Customer reports. Now this probably has the most use besides the dashboard. So asset balance and asset list are very similar. So if you look here, 1 and 1, there's not much really going on here. If you compare that versus asset list, it kind of gives you, asset list gives you a little bit more information barcode wise, how long it's been there right here. So I tend to probably use this one unless I need the other one, just a high level view. But the high level view is on the dashboard as well. And a rental balance, once again, it's all right here. If you want to display type, once again, there's just different ways of getting the information. But for most customers, the information is all about the same. Inventory worksheet can be handy, so we can basically know what's at a customer site. And one thing I've missed explaining or showing is the export to Excel function. That exists on a lot of these pages. So instead of just printing all of this out, once you export it, it becomes a lot more useful for you if you're looking at the cylinder balance or in this case, a inventory worksheet. Transfer activity, you saw that in another module. It's very useful, especially if you're doing audits. It shows you everything that was shipped, returned, accounting adjustments, Trackabout adjustments, if they exist. And once again, if this is supposed to be an even exchange customer, we can see there's a problem right here. And the other two items, unexpected transfers, these are rarely used. I've personally never used any one of these links, so I would just advise just not to use them. We'll skip rental till the end of the presentation. Audits you already saw. This will be just the completed audits. It won't have anything that's in process. And additional configuration, once again, is a tab that should be only used by cylinder control. I personally have not used it, I've used this one before, and I've used this one very sparingly. Should take that back, but it's something that we don't use on a day-to-day basis. So speaking about rental, let's go up here to the presentation here. I apologize, it's not ready. And so the rental tab. So many of the settings that you found on the rental dashboard are basically, like I said, on the rental dashboard, but the test account didn't have any rental invoices because we just delivered in January. We haven't generated rent yet. So I'm going to show you the difference on the next slide from a rental invoice out of Trackabout and one out of P21. And keep in mind, there's some medical cylinders that are on the account. This is a test account. It's got Marv's name on it. It was the original test account. So if you look, this is what the customer sees right here. This is what they get. And the Airco logo rental invoice, see this rental invoice free, was that 304-241. Rental invoice that comes out of Trackabout is this, nowhere near the same. Date's the same. And you come here with something large, oxygen, medical small. So all that information is the same. But you also see if you generate a rental out of Trackabout, there's no name on here. This is really no good. There's the account number. And it kind of gives you some same information here and here and here. And I've mentioned before, if there was tax, there would be tax over here, but not here. But what's good is that you have some information here that's not available over here. So we've had these for 16 days, and you had the settling for 7 days, Mr. Customer. And this information does come to P21, but we've suppressed that information because if we didn't, rental bills could be 10, 20, 30 pages for some customers. So we decided that that information, while it's nice, wasn't vital on our rental invoices. So just rehashing that rental bill comparison. So the one on the left was the Airco logo. That's what the customer receives. The Trackabout one on the right is the raw data that's sent to P21. Once again, tax is not calculated in Trackabout, just P21. That customer's name is not on the Trackabout invoice. The breakdown of the cylinders and their aging is on the Trackabout invoice, not the P21 one. But that, like I said, that data does come over. We just suppress it. The rental invoice numbers are not the same. The one on the Airco invoice is in P21. And last, we should only send the Airco one to the customer unless they need detailed information. And if you do give them the Trackabout one, it really needs to come with a big asterisk, hey, this is just for your information. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or recommendations on this training module or any others, please feel free to email me. Thank you.